Why is the industry regulated? Up until the beginning of the last century, there were no pharmaceutical regulations. Can you think of the consequences of not having any regulations? Lack of regulations meant that pharmaceutical companies could release drug products into the market without having to prove the effectiveness of the drug or its safety. The product labels could claim results without having to prove them, and contained no warnings for side effects, thus risking the patient's health. These issues highlighted the need for regulations and strict rules for how pharmaceutical facilities were manufacturing and testing their drug products before releasing them onto the market. The first regulations. In 1906, the Food and Drug Act was passed into law in the U.S. This was the first attempt at dealing with the problem of unsafe medicines in the marketplace. This law prohibited interstate commerce in misbranded and adulterated food and drugs. However, despite the passing of the act, numerous incidents caused by the sale of unsafe products continued, and many people lost their lives. One extremely serious incident occurred in 1937 when an antibiotic medicine called sulfanilamide elixir was released onto the market. It contained the poisonous solvent diethylene glycol and had not been tested for safety. As a result, 107 people who took the medicine died. The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. In 1938, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act was passed by the U.S. Congress. This act was intended to prevent serious incidents due to drugs not being regulated. The act, which started a new system of drug regulation, brought in rules and regulations on testing for safety of drugs before they could be released into the market. Did the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act improve things dramatically? Unfortunately, no. In 1941, just a few years after the new Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act was passed, nearly 300 deaths and injuries resulted from the sale of antibiotic tablets which were contaminated with a strong sedative called phenobarbital. Another major incident took place in 1962, when the use of the drug thalidomide by pregnant women caused birth defects in newborn babies, mainly in Europe. The FDA refused to allow the drug onto the market in the U.S. due to concerns about safety data. Where is GMP required? Everybody working in a pharmaceutical facility, including you, has some responsibility for the quality of the products produced. Therefore, following GMP is critical. GMP covers all aspects of production, from the raw materials, premises and equipment, to the training and personal hygiene of staff. The rules of GMP must be consistently followed in your everyday work practices. Working under GMP minimizes the risk of poor quality products. Therefore, GMP helps to protect both the company and the consumer. Here are some examples of GMP requirements. Warehousing. Materials and products stored in a warehouse are given a quality control status as per GMP standards. Laboratories. Laboratory testing as part of GMP includes sampling, inspecting and testing of starting materials, in-process, intermediate, bulk, and finished products. Production. Products are made using the correct standard methods as per GMP regulations to ensure a high standard of quality. Packaging and labeling of products. The correct labels are used on products. Wrong labeling could result in potential harm to customers or patients.